Welcome to Global Perspectives. I'm Cassie Janikos, Chief Operating Officer of Healthy Horizons, and today we are incredibly honored to host a true pioneer. Joining us is Dr. Solange Ngo Bama, MD, IBCLC, the only international board-certified lactation consultant in all of Central Africa. Dr. Ngo Bama, thank you so much for being here to share your invaluable expertise.
Thank you so much, Cassie, for having me. I'm here, but right from my Silicon Valley experience with the tech women where we got to meet up as my mentor, I'm incredibly honored to share this platform with you, share my experience, but also at the end of the day, encourage more people to follow suit so that we can better maternal and child health in Central Africa. Thank you for having me.
To start, can you please paint a picture for our global audience? What is the general culture and reality of breastfeeding in Central Africa today before we get to the workplace?
I am a historian, so I like to go back to history so that, we can really have a good perspective. So remember how when I think about my grandmother or my great-great-great-great-grandmother, 10 generations down, it was very easy. A woman was part of a community, gave birth in that community, was schooled on, menstrual hygiene, pregnancy, then taking care of the babies. And then we told them that, oh no, your way of doing things is not the best. Come to the hospital and meet us. And then we said doctors have to take care of women. We said midwives have to take care of women, nurses and all that. And so they came to the hospital. Now, when they came to the hospital, we gave them a completely new approach to what they were used to. And so there was a conflict that was created. Now, in the age where everything is very hyper specialized and expertise are diverged in many, many platforms, we find ourselves lacking. So the very people who came to us find themselves lacking because then they don't have enough information, enough contextual information to be able to handle their challenges. So that is where we are in terms of breastfeeding. And also because it's become a trivial problem. So when you talk about breastfeeding, you're like, but what new do you want to tell us? It's not just to remove, the breast and give a baby milk, right? Nobody is talking about women who are working. Nobody is talking about, women who are giving birth later in their lives. And so maybe could have chronic diseases, hormonal imbalance, and all those realities. That's the reality. So whether you live in Silicon Valley, whether you live in Cameroon, Yaoundé, whether you live in Bangui, whether you live in Jamina, the issues are almost not homogeneous, but you can have a lot of similarities in the challenges that women are facing or that families are facing, and eventually children who are breastfed are facing.
Absolutely. And you've provided support in some you've provided some support in some of the most challenging environments imaginable, including conflict zones with little to no reliable electricity or running water. Can you share what that experience was like and what it taught you about the resilience of mothers and the fundamentals of lactation care?
I always like to go with examples, right? When I have examples, then I think that my global audience can resonate better with me. Maybe I'll shoot a question right back at you and say, Cassie, what will you say if you had an exposed baby to HIV, right? A mother who could barely afford food, what will you do? The classical answer in the West is, find formula for this child, and so that we reduce mother to child transmission through breast milk to zero. But that answer is wrong in my context. Let me tell you why. You cannot ask someone who is a teenager, by the way, so herself is still a baby. You cannot ask a baby to take care of the baby. That's the first thing. And a baby who doesn't have a source of income, so the mother in this case is the first baby who doesn't have a source of income, you're asking her to buy formula when she's living below $1, that is 500 francs a day, to buy milk which costs for one single tin about 3,500 francs. So we're talking about 7 times the cost that she does not even have. So when you are faced with those kind of instances, then you ask yourself, how do I adapt what I've learned in terms of lactation support to my environment, so the low income, to the epidemic of HIV epidemic, which is something that is very present in the region, and then still offer lactation support in a way that is holistic, you see. So there's no one size fit all. You have to continuously learn, you have to continuously adapt. And that is what working in those environments has taught me, both as a doctor, but now as a lactation consultant, trying to improve maternal and child health.
Thank you, Doctor. Let's transition to our main topic, the workplace. Based on your experience, what is the current state of workplace lactation support in Africa for mothers?
Well, I cannot speak for the whole of Africa. Like I said, I will speak for Cameroon, but an extension to Central Africa, which is the zone I'm a little more familiar with. So what I want to say is the support is going to be sector by sector. So those who work in government, those who are self-employed, and those who work for private companies or organizations, and those who work in those private organizations for international NGOs like UNICEF, the treatment is not going to be the same across board. In the government, what I can tell you for sure is that some measures are put in place that the mother doesn't need to advocate for really. It's just her right. It's been given to her. And so when it's been given to her, what happens is
it looks like we lost Dr. Ngo Bama for a second. I know she's having some internet issues.
Sorry. Oh,
You're
wow,
back.
I'm back. I'm sorry about that. So we're just talking about challenging environments. This is one of the challenges that we face when we work where we are, and we have to, though with the use of internet that makes life easy for people, as you have to struggle with electricity, you have to struggle even with internet connectivity. So, like I was saying, when we talk about workplace support, right, it depends on where you find yourself. If you work in the government institution like a civil servant, if you're working for corporations, for international NGOs, if you're self-employed, the scenarios are completely different. Let me take case by case, and then so that you can understand. If you work with the government, for example, you're entitled to 14 weeks rather of maternity leave. How is this shared? You have 2 weeks before your due date, and you have up to 12 weeks after you give birth, postpartum, as a period where this is a paid maternity leave, right? And you can even extend, because as a civil servant also you have right to 30 days of pay leave in a year. So a mother can decide, you know what, I'm taking those 14 weeks plus that 1 month at a go, right? So that by the time she's going back to work, her baby is about 4.5 months, thereabout. Now that's the first case scenario. The second case scenario, which is also ideal, is with international NGOs like UNICEF. UNICEF will give you 6 months paid maternity leave, and trust me, that is rare. And then when you work with private corporations like maybe banks or some other businesses, there is really no size fit all. For 3 days that you are off, you could lose your job because nobody wants to incur losses for you being a woman or you giving birth or whatever. So like mothers then have to choose, am I going to work and take care of this child, or am I going to breastfeed? It's not ideal. The people who are more flexible are maybe those who are self-employed and entrepreneurs, who have control over their time and their resources. So really that's a bit of the landscape, and there are laws on paper, but now these laws have not been enforced. That's really where we have the major problem and the major challenge. If you ask me, that's my opinion about this.
Absolutely. Well, it's wonderful that there is some leave for some mothers, and 6 months sounds absolutely amazing for the mothers who have access to that. I understand that some countries like Cameroon and Central Africa have some laws giving mothers the right to breastfeed, to like a breastfeeding hour where they can go home or come in late. Can you tell us more about this?
Well, I think it's not really a Cameroonian thing. It's a law by the International Labour Organization that gives mother breastfeeding hours. So how does this work? It's an hour that a mother can take. So she can decide that if you work a 9 to 5 job, you can actually come in to work at 10 a.m. rather than 9 a.m. or decide to leave at 4 rather than 5 p.m. So it means that you have 1 hour. Or you can decide and now use the 1 hour to maybe pump in between, but you have that 1 hour at your disposal. The question is, how many people really know that it's available and that they can ask for it? Very few. And then you realize that if you have, maybe you are high ranking, maybe you are the head of a bank or a corporation or something, maybe that's where you have key meetings. Do people really understand that are people flexible enough? Are co-workers flexible enough to integrate it? Generally there's some sort of resentment, and so it doesn't work. I will share this little experience or this little story so that you understand. Like I said, I'm a medical doctor, right? And as doctors, we are expected to give people the best of care, to be there for them. But why I'm still doing the work that I do is because at some point we have doctors who go back to school, residency, like you have in the US or everywhere else in the world. And then a resident gives birth and she has to return to school maybe 3 weeks. She has about 3 weeks holiday or maternity leave, let's just say it like that. But then even at work, she cannot pump because there is nowhere. Even if she has the pump, even if she has the breastfeeding bags to the storage bags for the breast milk, she doesn't have a space to pump. Maybe the only available thing is a bathroom or a nursing station. So you see that a woman who was producing enough milk may go from enormous supply to low supply because of the environment, because of the stress. So the question um, is it a problem of will? Is it a problem of enforcement? Is it the absence of knowledge, as in people are not really measuring the impact of what those things are doing in the long term? Or we just want to do business as usual, like this is what they did to us. So if you're in residency, we're not cutting you any slack. If you are at the workplace, we don't care whether you've given birth. But then we'll start reproducing and we'll get extinct like dinosaurs and every other thing, because breastfeeding is one of the things that keep evolution, that has helped the human species to survive. So the question is, what do we really want to be? What legacy do we want to hand over to our children? What are the norms that we want to make or better our societies when it concerns infant nutrition, but most especially breastfeeding?
And then, given these challenges, we know that mothers are incredibly resourceful. How are moms making this work?
Mothers are resourceful. I think that once you become a mom, you just gain superpowers, right? In by some regards, you just develop superpowers. So people are in different places are doing different things. I will tell you that I admire the mothers that I have seen, from those who want to try to pump our work even when it's difficult, to those who do the both the pumping and the storing of the breast milk. But then even when they do all of that, they are not very sure of how the electricity can go, what, a day, 2, 3, 4, then you lose your milk stock. And so the support network as well has really been important. Before, there was a taboo around breast milk that is stored in the fridge, though more and more we communicate that you can store breast milk. But people were like, the guys were like, no, I don't understand why you're supposed to store breast. If you store breast milk, you cannot give my child again, you see. So the support around it is growing over time. People are getting informed, they are getting educated, mothers are getting empowered. For a mother who didn't get it right the first time, wants to do everything so that she corrects it in the second, with maybe the second child or the subsequent baby that she has. So resources like breast milk pumps, they are available. We can link them now to what is good for them, what is affordable especially, and then the techniques around, okay, even when you don't have electricity, how do you conserve your breast milk? Because that's a reality that we are supposed to have to deal with. And so that has been, I think that one of the things that we mothers do. And in some very interesting cases, sometimes their partners, their family members have to come with the baby at the time of feeding to their workplaces to feed their babies, right? So you imagine what kind of logistics that would take to breastfeed a child to 6 months exclusively. I mean, it's a lot of intentionality, it's a lot of sacrifice. And so, like I always say, I tell the mothers, I hope that the God will reward your labor of love, because indeed this is labor of love. It's only love that can, true sacrificial love that can allow you to do all of this, because you have your child's best interest at heart.
And can you share an example of a company or an organization that you feel is doing a really good job supporting breastfeeding employees and what that support looks like?
Well, the gold standard in Cameroon right now is UNICEF. Like I said, they have 6 months of paid maternity leave, so you are home. You also have the income to continue to support yourself while you are at home, take care of bills and all of that. So the mother doesn't only recover from the stress around birth, but she's comfortable enough to give milk to her baby. There's also a company called Ola Magri that recently launched a breastfeeding support space in their company, where to accommodate breastfeeding mothers, so you can pump and store milk. So it's really incredible. People are waking up, and we are encouraging that many more business owners think about it. If you're employing a woman in her reproductive age, is she good at what she does? Fine. Does she help you with the work or with your clients or whatever? Great. So now, how do you support her? Maybe you make hours a little flexible. If she doesn't have to come into work, maybe give her flexible hours. Maybe introduce someone, attach someone to her, so that she can be able to train them to replace her for critical meetings or things that she cannot, things that she can delegate, so that she focuses on the important task. Important. If a mother is taken care of, and you can accommodate her, and she even becomes more productive, because then she has handled every other thing that can bring trouble at work, with her kids, with her baby, and she's fine, she's stable, and she gives you her best. So it's a long-term investment. Just make the availability, offer breastfeeding hours, and offer, to talk to me, your breastfeeding consultant. Talk to me, and I will help you how to make your lactation space, more mother friendly, more breastfeeding friendly, and even just, a discussion with them on how to maximize, their journey while they are working for you. So trust me, the return on investment is worth the effort. It's worth, just even the conversation.
Well, that's wonderful advice for business leaders who may be watching this. And I love that the tips you shared, they're so practical and they're low cost. Like, those things are not going to cost the company money, but it'll make such a huge difference to the mother. Thank you for sharing that. So looking at the big picture, if you could wave a magic wand, what is the most important next step to improve workplace lactation support across your region?
I think that people should take responsibility at every level, right? It goes from, if you have a colleague who is breastfeeding, just understand that you can give her 5 minutes to pump. If maybe your office space is all that she has to pump, give her 5, 10, 20 minutes to pump. If you're a friend, you're a sister who has, or if a brother who has a breastfeeding sister, mother, auntie, wife, help around with the other things that she will otherwise have to do, so that she concentrates on taking care of this baby. If you are an employer and you're having women of reproductive age groups in your company, if you have them, it means that they are good at what they do and they are serving your purpose and your interest. And so, to avoid high turnover, make your space breastfeeding friendly. It doesn't have to be much. A small fridge where she can pump, a small corner just with a dividing blind where she can sit, with an electric outlet to pump. It's okay. Give her like make her aware that she has a breastfeeding hour that she can take, make working a little more flexible to accommodate that. But to policy and policy makers, we have a lot of good laws in, that on paper protect, but please enforce it. Enforce it. It should be unheard of that a woman will lose her job because, she's trying to do right by her child. It's not fair that
Mm.
she has to, she had to sacrifice something. It's part of continuity. It's part of preserving legacy. And if your company, if the country, if we are about legacy, then we should support breastfeeding as much as we can. You don't need money. You just need compassion. You just need accommodation, and you just need the willpower. Every other thing can be worked out.
Absolutely. And you recently spent time shadowing the team here at Healthy Horizons in Silicon Valley. What was your biggest takeaway from that
It's been a bit
experience?
of time.
What was that?
Well, yeah, I say it's been a bit of time where I was
Yes.
almost 3 years down the line, and it seems as if it was yesterday. So the first thing is, I started this breastfeeding support journey as I stumbled on it. I will say it like that. And so I've been literally self-taught. And as a doctor, I understand the need to, ask questions and behave like a police investigator in front of a crime to arrive at, what is the culprit and what should we do. And so my shadowing with Healthy Horizon and the breastfeeding consultants there, gave me a perspective of practice to say, okay, if this is supposed to work, this is the methodology of how these things are done, right? It's actually a full-blown consultation. It's not as if you don't stumble on diagnosis, you don't stumble on, approaches of how, okay, this is the problem and I think that is the solution. No, you bring the patient along, and you are not the deciding factor. You are just accompanying. I think that that's one of the greatest. You are accompanying the patient to make the best choice for them at that time, and you are supporting them. It doesn't really matter what your own personal opinion is. It doesn't matter, right? As a doctor who was trained in a place where it's the other way around, where the doctor seems to always be right and then the patient is just listening, that perspective did me a lot and a lot of good. And so it also allowed me to integrate it in my own practice. To say, okay, this is what I have seen. Maybe they have electronic records there, and so you can easily say, oh, this is what happened during the birth, during, this is how this was a gestational and all of that. Yeah, I don't have those electronic records, but I am forced to now collaborate intentionally and say, okay, I am a doctor, but I'm not a pediatrician who saw the child. I'm an IBLC. So what does the pediatrician say? What did the gynecologist do? What was the anesthesia? What kind of anesthesia did they give the woman? And so it helps me to even explain in simpler terms to them to say, hey, you received pain medication. I understand that you needed it for your, the time of your birth because of the pain that you are having, but it has an impact on when your milk let down will come. You may have a little delay, and so to make them understand that it's a consequence, but it's normal, right? It's not unexpected given the chain of events. So it was refreshing, it was building, but it was also very humbling to see that, what in Cameroon they consider that, you have to be you have to use the typical pathways. So maybe if I was a pediatrician, oh, they would trust me. But now I'm like, no, I'm a lactation consultant. That's my expertise, and I'm good at what I do, right? So that has taken away the imposter syndrome to say, hey, maybe I'm not very comfortable. I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it, and I deliver results. My results speak for themselves. So, um, yeah, it's been a good thing, and it's after that shadowing that I took my IBLC exam. I bet it twice, failed on the first attempt, but eventually made it. So it also taught me resilience. Not everybody is going to understand your journey at a goal. They don't need to understand it. You are a trailblazer, and when you you just go ahead and you create the path for others who come before you, and rather who come after you. So when you know that you are a trailblazer, obstacles will come, is expected. But then in 10, 20 years to come, when they talk about lactation support in Cameroon, when they talk about it in Africa, I hope that I'm going to be remembered as someone who said, we are not going the contemporary way. We are choosing the path of innovation, and this is what we are going to do for mothers and babies in Africa. So
it's fantastic. And on a final and very exciting note, a huge congratulations on your acceptance to the prestigious London School of Economics. Can you share what you plan to study and how you hope that this will amplify your advocacy?
Wow. So I'm a woman of many interests, and I've learned that, you can actually use one interest to serve another. I'm a doctor by training. I did a program in epidemiology and infectious diseases. Now, IBCLC by choice. And because I understand that advocacy is important, what I'm going to be studying at the London School of Economics is health and international development. The idea is that I will use my interest in data science and artificial intelligence to bridge the gap. Remember, I'm one lactation consultant for 6 countries. We are talking about almost 100 million people. It's not sustainable, right? But why not use the tools that are at our disposal to be able to maximize the work that we do and maximize our impact? So is really to say maternal and child health, especially breastfeeding support, can be scaled, and we can use AI now at our disposal to reach more people. But AI that is, for us, that is trained by our models, trained with our data, so that it's more relatable for the populations that we are called to serve. Yeah, but also because it's a gateway to, advocacy at the bigger level, with the UNICEF, with the people who matter when we talk about maternal and child health. So I'm looking forward to the journey, to just exploring social sciences and how they impact health, especially because coming from a purely science background, when they tell you you've done medicine, it's hardcore sciences. It's never really about, we don't learn the interactions. We don't learn, how anthropology can shape people and shape behaviors. When we don't learn that, it's really difficult. And so I'm excited, I'm happy, but I'm also humble because it's everything that I've done up to this point that has led me here. If I didn't, if the interest didn't spark, if, women and mothers didn't trust me, to help them on their journey, we'll not be talking about this achievement. So it's not my achievement as a whole, but it's your achievement because you've mentored me for the past 3 years. Is Healthy Horizon that has mentored me, my co-founders at Precious Lactation, the plus 1,500 women that we've reached in the past 4 years. So and the babies that have been born, the single babies, the twins, and all the work that we've been able to do. So it's a culmination of all of that. It's not an individual success, right? It's really a village pushing, pulling, and uplifting me to go forward, to learn new things, to meet different people, and share. Why not just share? Because someone can catch your fire and run with you. So that's it.
Well, Dr. Ngo Bama, your work is truly inspiring. Thank you for sharing your time and profound insights with us today. For everyone watching, thank you for joining Global Perspectives, and happy Workplace Lactation Week.